And in this part we have a city to liberate, and some usurping son of a so-and-so to kill. And now, the last time we had to make our way through the city, we were dealing with samurais and soldiers, but now we're dealing with the hordes of the undead. But unfortunately, chainsaws haven't been invented yet, so we'll have to make do with special spells. Now again, the skeletal creatures are weak to blunt weapons, although what you really want to look out for here is the leeches. You will actually heal their fallen brethren. But something I noticed when looking at this footage now is that the water is frozen over, but you can't really walk on it. And you know, that would have been an interesting way to have a different layout to the city, but oh well. Now, unfortunately, the path we have to make through the city is sort of streamlined. Like, it's not as long as, well, not as long as the last time we were here. But yeah, it's really quite a desolate place. Winter has come to Llanel in more ways than one. But at this point, it's not really too interesting what I do here. It's just fight some enemies as Jakar and then heal as Rosalind. A fairly simple tactic. And you can see by looking up, the bridges in this area have been completely destroyed. Then we have the Lich here, who are fairly weak, but again they can heal enemies, so you want to keep an eye on them. And also, you just saw there the sort of Debaser's ability in action. Whenever you hit an enemy, there's always a chance it will trip them over. So, yep, that's something you definitely want to keep a hold of. Now, something about the music here, you can sort of see it's got this very different classical score here, and it's very epic and very foreboding. The music in this game is great, actually. Now you can see here we're fighting this guy, and yeah, he's a mummy. Now the thing about the mummies is that I would say they're fairly weak characters, although they do have a lot of hit points. So you really do have to hack at them. And of course they can cast the ability Curse on you, which will hinder you slightly. Now something I didn't really show off in Aurenia, but these mummies actually appear in that part of the game, in the desert areas. There is actually a desert encounter where you're surrounded by mummies. But now they appear here. And the thing is with these mummies is that they actually give off like 7,000 experience points. So they really are worth killing. Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, I'm actually forced to use a revive scroll. I think that's the first time you've seen me do that in the game, I think. But it's because Jakar doesn't have any reviving spells. And I can't help feel if you didn't have one of those scrolls, you would be actually kind of stuck. Or at least you would have to like leave the area and then re-enter it. But I guess what's also strange about this city here is the fact that it is actually destroyed. Presumably the demons messed it up as soon as they escaped. Honestly, the writers of this story had quite a fairly grim view. Alright, a good tip here, always cast Protect. Essentially, I've been going on about how durable Jakar is, but I think having that spell is actually what helps. Now something I do here is try and draw away the Lich from the rest of his buddies. just to make it a bit easier on myself. Not really much to say here. You're on like a forced path, so essentially you do have to take out these enemies. You're just forced to. But I'll admit, I guess that's why this is one of the more difficult parts of the game, since you're down to just these two characters. But I'm having nowhere near as much trouble I did recording this when I very first played the game. And I think that's obviously because I've leveled up the characters and know which skills to use. So yeah, this is actually quite fun in a sense. And I'm happy to kill all these enemies. It's good grinding. Yeah, there's no real special item in this part, but there is some precious gems which I'd recommend you collect, because at some point to complete one of the side quests, you need to buy one of the parchments of the Nevaseum, but it's over 500,000 gold coins. But fortunately there is some jewellery or items hidden in this city at this point, which will really help you get that number. Of course we have the Frozen Knights again from the Cavern of Wolong, so yeah, again, you notice I keep using fire. Well, there's a good reason for that. Fire is actually a really good element in this game. In fact, I would say it's slightly overbalanced, because yeah, fire beats a lot more enemies than ice does, and they certainly beat a lot more enemies than electric does. In fact, I think only like the steel enemies are weak against electric attacks in this game, and you don't really encounter those guys very often. So yeah. There you go. I'm getting flashbacks when we came here with Felice, and I would use the trip ability, then run around and then backstab the enemies. Yeah, I am really going through this game at this point. And I was talking before about the length of the dungeons from this point on, and really like going through the sewer and the city. That's the longest one you'll have to do. All the rest are really streamlined. They're really short. And see, you see, there's sort of a gate to the sewers here. Would have been cool if we could have just taken a shortcut. But then again, I probably would have had to go through the long way through the sewers anyway, because I was doing side quests. I do like these golems, although they do kind of look like robots, which is odd. Again, when playing this game, something I'm very aware of is when I walk into a new area, and that I won't be swamped by enemies. I just noticed when Rosalind was casting Fire Arrow on the Lich, then the Lich died and then the Fire Arrow was cancelled. I was just thinking it would have been a good feature if that happens, your magic user casts a spell on something else instead. Like if your target disappears, it automatically locks on the next target. But I guess that would make it too efficient. Oh, these soldiers, these bone soldiers aren't really worth killing. You get like 400 experience points. Not even worth my time. Right, here we see the ruins of the old marketplace. And apparently there's now an icy mountain in the middle of it. Now, fortunately, I've said before we have these liches here, but I guess the good thing about these guys is they're not as indestructible as the one in the Cavern of Wolong. Because if you remember that, that specific lich could only be killed in a certain way. But these guys, they can be sort of bashed to death, and I love that. I love that ability where Jakar knocks them over with one swing. See, that's not his ability. That's the weapon he's carrying, the Dibasa. Look, there's a giant crater here, man. Look, I'm not sure what happened here, but it's a good guess that the demons tore this place up. And again, before we don't see any of the inhabitants in the city, apart from one of them later on. It would have been nice to see like a group of survivors trying to hide in the corner here. The mummies, when I think about it, are a fairly creepy enemy, the way they just stand still for a moment. And that's one of the items I want you to pick up here, the Iolite, a very precious gem. But if you look around the corner of this area, you actually find like a good cache of them. In fact, whenever I see these mummies, for a second I think, is that an NPC? Because you see the way they move, they don't look too monstrous at first. Yeah, speaking of mummies, I guess it's meant to be like sort of an Egyptian thing, but other cultures have mummies as well. I don't know who invented it. I guess it would still be the Egyptians, just because ancient Egypt is so ancient. Of course. And like before, you can't enter any other parts of the city. Yeah, like I said, it's been streamlined. So that I'll give it credit for. It's sort of... there's only really one way to go. Oh, and here are the precious gems I was talking about. Again, you need a large sum of money to complete one of the side quests, so yep, they're worth picking up. And at this point, you can sell them when you get back to the city of the Kosani. Well, I was saying that, I'm not sure why the Kosani would pay a lot for precious gems. I mean, surely that kind of stuff isn't, well, it isn't too precious for them. And 6 Iolite. Very valuable. Yep, so essentially I've come around this area and I've essentially been going in a circle. But yeah, I hope you like post-apocalyptic fiction, because that's what I'm getting feels about this. I was about to compare it to The Day After Tomorrow, but there you go. Run away from the cold. Ah. Oh, what's a good thing about this section though is that there used to be a load screen across this bridge to separate the two areas, but now, since the level's been streamlined, it's just one level now, which makes the transition a whole lot better. You know, I'm using lightning attacks on this guy, which is apparently what it's weak to, but I'm probably better off just hitting with a big club.